Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we'll just start. Dear Mark, when we received the reciprocating knife tool head from you a few months ago, and we installed it and the machine referenced itself so that the blade was indeed at 90 degrees, we actually noticed that the blade, the sharp end of the blade was facing in the wrong direction, so it actually is facing towards us rather than away from us. It should be facing up the table rather than down the table. Though it's at 90 degrees, you mentioned if we just by hand eyed it up and set it in the right way, we continue cutting, which we have done, but it's proved slightly problematic because, as you can see, when we actually have to turn this whole piece so that the sharp end of the blade would be running up the table, we're actually having to unscrew it down this column on this thread, which is giving us upwards of 1 millimeter extra distance on the blade length. And that's the problem that we're experiencing, is that our blade length seems to be too high. There's no way for us to have it tight against this set collar while facing up the board. And it seems to us that actually the set screws that hold the blade proper, if this unit was actually just flipped, we would be good to go, because it still aligns, when we can bring it all the way tight up, the furthest up this column, it aligns, but just backwards. So we can't give it that extra half twist any higher up to get it to align the right way. And so our question seemed to be, how would we get rid of that gap? But I think, really, if we can just turn this whole headset that has the set screws opposite, and we see that there are 2 threads here, these set screws, that are extremely tight, and I imagine are tight because it oscillates so much. Is there a way that we could unscrew this and then just flip this in its housing so that it would be facing the right direction? That's problem 1. Problem 2 that we've just found is that this little set pole and this gasket, I think our gasket is so worn out, and you might be able to see, I can kind of pick at it, and it's broken. It no longer holds on the pole, so that when we go to, it sinks, and actually the only thing that's holding it up is its foot. So we have 2 problems. I think that's probably... I think we can also show them that it should never come out of the foot. That prior, the foot always sheathed the blade entirely, which again, we need to get rid of this gap here, which I think can be done by just flipping this.
Okay.
You think that was terribly confusing?